A judge temporarily blocks the Biden mandate for healthcare workers in 10 different states. So we'll talk just a bit about what that means, plus a couple of other vaccine mandate news stories that go along with that as well. Some in the favor of the people who are hesitant and some who are against them, but we'll talk about all of them as we go. In other news, the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Opening statements have begun, so we'll talk just a bit about what the news media has allowed us to do so. Full disclosure, I've not listened to a minute of that trial, but we will talk about what's going on with that. The debt ceiling is coming up in 4 days until we see the debt ceiling limit hit again. It does not look like there is a path to a resolution for that, but Manchin says that there is, so we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. And Arizona State University wants Kyle Rittenhouse kicked out from his online classes. It's going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Well, I warned you all that we would have 8-Bit Christmas on this channel, and we're going to throw that into the rotation. I'm not going to do it every day, don't worry, but I wanted to test it out, this playlist here, and just make sure that it all works out well. I was going to do the Spotify playlist, but I'm cheap, and they play ads on that, so we're not going to advertise for other people here. We're going to check with this YouTube playlist that appears to be similar, and yeah, that'll be on the rotation. I will get some more Christmas music coming up here. I found a nice Christmas lo-fi station over on YouTube, and just get some nice stuff going on in the background here, so it's not always just the same stuff over and over again. So that's pretty awesome here, but we have got a ton of stuff to get to here today, which is weird because when I went to bed last night, I did not think that there was going to be that much. I was actually looking through all the news and like, what the fuck am I going to cover? The Daily Wire front page was all full of useless crap or repeats of other stories, and a couple of things popped up. The Blaze was full of useless crap, and not a lot of stuff going on there. But then overnight, just all this mandate stuff happened, and we also had to throw some Ghislaine Maxwell stuff on the top of there, and some of the stuff moved and shaked in the Rittenhouse case as well. Some stuff that we did have to discuss as we went along here. So now we've got a full show again. Plus we'll do Twitter trending at the end of this over here on Contemporary. But before we get started, and we are going to move right into it here, make sure you guys go check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. Once we get up and running, we will get a new fundraiser going to get these startup costs going. But once we get up and running, we will carry great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, and The Porch Boys. So go check that out. New Porch Boys tonight, by the way. That's going to be a really fun one from what I see. I've already seen some stuff there. And the saltiest of bitches that you know, Brit Salt, is going to be on The Porch Boys tonight. So go and check that out. It's going to be a great show. I always love seeing those guys. And plus, you know, some of them talking to a female for the first time. John. But we'll see how that goes, and we'll see what happens with that. I think it's going to be a good time, and definitely I will be tuning in. So come hang out with me in the live chat over there. And let's get started into what we have going on here. Starting with the Dow. The Dow this morning had an up day yesterday. It's back up above 35, 135.94. But if the futures are any indicator, after 300 points dropping overnight, it's looking like we're going to be back down below 34,000 once again, because nobody knows what the hell to do with all this economy right now. They do understand that the debt ceiling is coming. They can't not know that. So that's going to be coming up here later on, plus the Omicron variant and the travel stocks that go with that, and the rest of the world is reacting to it. Even though the U.S. is telling you, no, don't worry about it, the rest of the world is paying attention to it, so that's something we have to see. And I think this is going to be a shaky holiday season. I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong, but from everything I can see, this is going to be a shaky holiday season. Looking in at your Bitcoin. Bitcoin is up to $58,091 and 90 US cents. That is a roller coaster across the last 24 hours, coming back again and coming back up in its trading. So, well, I guess we'll see where it goes. I'm not sure. With the taxes and everything that's going to come onto Bitcoin, I have no idea where it's going to go, but it's going to go somewhere, and we're going to see where it goes with that. Your industrials right now. Copper took itself a downturn. Steel is continuing to be on the rise, and aluminum continues to be on the fall. Looking in at your individuals. Bare wire, number 1 tubing, and flashing copper are down. Number 2 tubing is up. Insulated wire is up. Thin wire is down. Romex is up. Brass is down, or brass is up rather, but brass shells are down on your steel plays. With the exception of a complete car, if you're bringing steel in, it's going to be continuing to rise throughout the day. As far as aluminum goes, siding is down, aluminum copper fin is down, radiators are up, cans are down, sheet aluminum is down, rims are up, your individual plays, electric motors are down, ballasts are up, lead is up, car and truck batteries are down, all catalytic converters continue to fall in price, compressors are up, alternators are down, carbide is down, and all of your chip plays continue to be up. So, lots of stuff moving here, lots of stuff shaking. We're going to see what happens with industry in this country and around the world. And if we go back into a lockdown, there's going to be a lot less demand. So that's what we see going on with that. All right, let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. From Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones Futures dive as Moderna CEO predicts less effective vaccines for Omicron variant. This is from Scott Latonin. Dow Jones Futures dove more than 500 points early Tuesday before paring losses as Moderna chief Stephanie Bancel predicted existing vaccines will be less effective for the Omicron variant. The stock market bounced after Friday's Omicron COVID-19 sell-off as President Biden ruled out new lockdowns. Electric vehicle stocks Li Auto, Lucid Motors, Rivian, and Tesla raced higher on Monday. On Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average moved up 0.7%, the S&P 500 rose 1.3%, while the Nasdaq led the way, rising 1.9%. Crude oil prices rose over 2%, Bitcoin surged 7%, and the 10-year Treasury yield climbed to 1.53%. Among the Dow Jones leaders, Apple traded up 2.2%, while Microsoft moved up 2.1% in today's stock market. Nike remains below a recent buy point despite a 1.1% gain on Monday. Electric vehicle leader Tesla rallied 5.1% Monday. EV peer Rivian surged nearly 7%, while Lucid Motors gained 6.5%. Chinese EV leader Li Auto bolted higher after delivering earnings, while XPeng Motors edged higher. Among the top stocks to buy and watch, Nucor, Pioneer National Resources, Pfizer, and Zim Integrated Shipping are near buy zones. Microsoft, Nucor, and Tesla are IBD leaderboard stocks. Apple was featured in this week's Stocks Near a Buy Zone story, and Zim was spotlighted in last week's IPO leader story. On your futures, Dow Futures, ahead of the stock market open, Dow Futures dropped 0.9% versus fair value, while S&P 500 futures lost 0.75%. Nasdaq 100 futures moved down 0.4% versus fair value. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Among exchange-traded funds, Innovator IBD 50 moved up 1.6% Monday. Nasdaq 100 tracker Invesco QQQ Trust gained 2.2%. And the SPDR S&P 500 ETF ascended 1.2%. Early Tuesday, Moderna CEO Stéphane Bancel said he expects existing vaccines to be less effective against the new Omicron variant in an interview with the Financial Times. Run out and get another vaccine! It's the Omicron! There is no world, I think, where the effectiveness is the same level we had with Delta, Bancel said. Well, we were told during the Delta right at the beginning once again. We were told, oh no, it's going to get around the vaccine. You guys, it's going to be horrible. It's going to end the world. Early Tuesday, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Federal Reserve Chief Jerome Powell will testify before a Senate committee in a hearing titled CARES Act Oversight of the Treasury and the Federal Reserve, Building a Resilient Economy. No, trust us. Printing all that money for the CARES Act didn't do anything bad for the economy. Now let us go print more money. That's what we have moving up here. Let's see what CNBC has to say. Dow futures are down more than 350 points as investors try to gauge the economic impact of Omicron. From Maggie Fitzgerald and Yoon Lee. Stock futures tumbled in early Tuesday trading, reversing a Monday rebound on Wall Street as investors reassess risks associated with the new Omicron COVID variant. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 390 points, or 1.1%. S&P 500 futures tumbled 0.9%, and NASDAQ 100 futures shed 0.5%. So, within a couple hours, some of this did claw its way back, but it still is not looking good. The reversal came after Moderna CEO Stéphane Bancel told Financial Times that he expects existing vaccines to be less effective against the new variant. The CEO told the paper there could be a material drop in the current vaccine's effectiveness against the variant. Bancel told CNBC on Monday that it could take months to develop and ship an Omicron-specific vaccine. Separately, Regeneron said its antibody treatment may have reduced effectiveness against Omicron. Regeneron shares lost 3% in pre-market trading. The 10-year Treasury yield fell further below 1.45% as investors worried about the economy slowing down because of the new variant. The 10-year rate lost 9 basis points to 1.44%. The yield on the 10-year Treasury was as high as 1.69% last week before Friday's drop below 1.5%. The futures move lower follows a volatile last few sessions as investors evaluate the Omicron impact. The Dow lost 905 points on Friday, then rebounded by 237 points on Monday. So, lots of stuff going on here, and a lot of this does have to do specifically with the Omicron variant. I don't know what's going to happen with the Omicron variant. I really don't. But I have this feeling that there is going to be another lockdown, whether Biden says there is or not. And he is trying to tell us that there is not going to be another one. All right. With that, let's start with some fun stuff before we get into the big news of the day. There is some fun stuff going on here that I thought we wanted to talk about, including this. I found this last night, right before I went to bed. When I thought that this was going to be a very slow news day, I threw this on here because, hey, I've got 3 minutes to kill throughout the morning, but even after we filled up, this was funny enough that I felt the need to share. So, here is an Evanescence parody of Jordan Peterson. Thank you to Freedom Tunes.
You're a chimpanzee full of snakes. Your life's a war. Let me lead you out of chaos and into order. You set a goal for 5 years from now, but go. Perhaps even you could manage that. So let's go. Clean that up, clean your room, young man. Clean up. Follow your 5-year plan. Clean that up. Think about the man you could become. Clean that up. Cause modernism's bad. Clean up. So go find your dad. Clean that up. And save him from the belly of the whale. Sort yourself out. Sort yourself out.
So what you're saying is
that you know to be lies. You cannot escape the suffering that comes with life. Carry all your pain the hero archetype. Clean that up, clean your room, young man. Clean up. Follow your 5-year plan. Clean that up. Think about the man you could become. Clean that up. Modernism.
He's gonna be a Chad.
So go find your dad. Clean that up. And save him from the belly of the whale. Sort yourself out.
That you know to be lies.
Sort yourself out.
We are demonetized at this point, as we are, well, probably for the Christmas music too. But yeah, Seamus does good work. I would love to have Seamus on the Red and Ed show at some point. Seamus does really good work, even if you don't agree with Peterson and the fact that he can sing in his Peterson impression voice. That's awesome, and stay somewhat on key even. So I thought that would be fun to share. I thought that would be fun to see. All right. And the other one that I thought would be a little bit fun is I found this right beforehand. Right before we got started, actually. I was about to hit the live button when I saw this. Eric Swalwell comes out and says, "Last Thanksgiving, there was no vaccine. It was not safe for families to celebrate." Even though we did anyway. Because you can fuck yourself. "This year, 80% of Americans have had at least one shot, and millions are traveling to see loved ones. That's the difference between Biden and Trump. Hashtag Democrats deliver." And Mark Young, with the sword and the slaying. Let me guess, Fang Fang told you that Biden made Operation Warp Speed. Boom, got him. And just remember, we're going to be talking about the mandates to start off with here. A lot of people actually believe that, well, first off, a lot of people believe that this is a different vaccine than the one that was done under Operation Warp Speed, but also that this is all a Biden thing, that this has nothing to do with the former guy whatsoever. But, yeah, that was fun. Bang bang with Fang Fang. Alright, starting with the New York Times, a former newspaper. A judge temporarily blocks a vaccine mandate for health workers in 10 states. This is from Julia Hayward. A federal judge on Monday temporarily blocked the Biden administration's coronavirus vaccine mandate for healthcare workers in the 10 states that filed a lawsuit against the government this month. The mandate requires all 17 million healthcare workers in Medicare and Medicaid certified medical facilities, which receive government funding, to be fully vaccinated against the coronavirus by January 4th. The injunction issued by Judge Matthew Schelt of the U.S. District Court for Eastern District of Missouri prevents the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services from enforcing the mandate while the case is in court. The judge said in his ruling that the plaintiffs were likely to succeed on the merits of the case, in part because Congress had not granted the agency authority to issue a vaccine mandate. CMS seeks to overtake an area of traditional state authority by imposing an unprecedented demand to federally dictate the private medical decisions of millions of Americans, wrote Judge Schelt, who was nominated by President Donald J. Trump. Such action challenges traditional notions of federalism. Yeah, that's fair. It does. The lawsuit was filed by states of Alaska, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, New Hampshire, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming. It said that by prompting the healthcare workers to leave their jobs if they did not want to get vaccinated, the mandate could exacerbate an alarming shortage of healthcare workers, particularly in rural communities, that has already reached a boiling point. Judge Schelt's ruling is the second setback this month for the Biden administration's vaccine mandates. A 3-judge panel in New Orleans affirmed a federal appeals court's decision to temporarily block a requirement that companies with at least 100 employees test their unvaccinated workers weekly beginning in January. The judges said the mere existence of the regulation had resulted in untold economic upheaval in recent months. The public interest is also served by maintaining our constitutional structure and maintaining the liberty of individuals to make intensely personal decisions according to their own convictions, wrote Judge Kurt D. Engelhardt, a Trump appointee. So a lot of stuff that's going on with this, a lot of stuff to talk about with this, and really realistically with this. As far as Medicare and Medicaid, this is going to be an interesting idea of who runs the businesses that get the Medicare and Medicaid funding. And it is going to be interesting to have a judicial ruling as to who actually owns what's going on with that. Because yes, in most cases, these facilities that are Medicare and Medicaid funded, they are privately owned thus far on paper, but they are taking huge swaths of government money. And I don't know at this point if the government can pull the Medicare funding, if that's going to be the next step off of this, if this is going to be. But as far as the government coming in and telling a private business what it is that they can and can't do, I mean, think back to the Obama years. Think back to that smug asshole sitting up on the stage in the middle of a State of the Union address in 2013, talking about how he felt about the private sector. I think you need to be grateful to us and pay your penance in your taxes, even if you're a small business owner. You didn't build that. The roads that go up to your place, you didn't build that. The government built that. You didn't build your business. The government built that for you. That was a more indirect reading of how that went, of course, with the infrastructure in place. But as far as the Medicare thing goes, there is a more direct link between the funding and the building of the business. That's something to see. And I could see this administration pulling Medicare funding from these facilities just to go back and punish people who won't go back and do that. After everything they've done, there is a distinct possibility of them doing so. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Wilson, but the facility you've chosen to stay at because it's close to your kids, they don't want a vaccine mandate, so hey, we're pulling away your funding. I can see that out of this administration, but as of right now, while this is going through court, they cannot enforce the mandate. So we'll see what happens when this comes up to court. Reading a little bit further on this from the Washington Post, Where Democracy Goes to Die in Darkness, Judge temporarily blocks Biden administration vaccine mandate for healthcare workers in 10 states. And once again, we're coming off to a point here where on a local level, I think the local governments are possibly going to come back and mandate for some of these facilities, but they're doing so anyway. And that actually does fall in line with Jacobson versus Massachusetts, to let the local government figure out what's going to be for the mandate or make the people pay a $5 fine. Or in probably today's dollar, I would guess that's probably about a $100 fine. This is from Eli Rosenberg and Adela Sullivan. We're not going to spend too much time on this because this is going to be a lot of rehash of the last one. A federal judge in Missouri has partially halted another one of the Biden administration's key vaccine requirements, temporarily blocking the imposition of a rule for certain healthcare workers. The Biden admin issued the vaccine mandate for healthcare workers at facilities that received funding from Medicare and Medicaid in early November through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. It was estimated to apply to some 1.7 million workers at 76,000 facilities across the country, including hospitals and nursing homes. But in a 32-page ruling issued on Monday in St. Louis, U.S. District Judge Matthew T. Shelp, who was appointed by President Trump, said that a preliminary injunction to halt the rule was warranted because he believed the argument made by the plaintiffs, 10 mostly Republican-dominated states, that the CMS lacked the authority to implement the requirement probably had merit, and See, this is a little bit fuzzy about the way that the government works right now. Is likely it doesn't, because in order to do anything, to make a law or make a ruling or anything, that's supposed to come from the legislative branch. The executive branch is supposed to be the executor of the law. They're supposed to decide how to execute the law that Congress has made. They look at it and say, okay, this is what you see here. This is what we see here. This is what we see here. This is what's in the paperwork. Now, this is how we're going to enforce it. That was the executive branch. But it does seem like they're trying to make more and more rules, and I don't think they have the authority. If we get all but rid of executive orders off of this, I'm going to be a happy fucking guy. He also questioned whether there was enough data about transmissibility and the vaccination status, and he said that he believed the order was probably arbitrary and capricious. Congress did not clearly authorize CMS to enact this politically and economically vast federalism-altering and boundary-pushing mandate, which the Supreme Court precedent requires, he wrote. That order will halt the CMS vaccine mandate in the 10 states that brought the lawsuit until the court can hear their legal challenges. They are, once again, Alaska, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming. CMS did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness. So, this is stopped right now for another group of people. Basically, it's just federal workers right now who are going to be subject to this. And, of course, not counting Congress or the people who work on congressional staff. Those people don't have to do it. It's just all you little people who work for the government that aren't in Congress. And once again, if you want a law made, put that shit back in the legislature where it belongs. Get it out of the courts, get it out of the presidency. Let them figure out and do their roles. I'm happy about this. Another one here, archived of course. My first 3 articles of the day are archived, because so many news sites are so graveled. From the LA Times, Sheriff Villanova won't use county's coronavirus testing provider over alleged ties to China. One of my friends put this on Instagram right before we got started here, so I wanted to make sure we tucked this one in here. This is from Elaine Checkmidian. Yeah, we're going to go with Checkmidian on that one. As you can see, that is quite the Eastern Bloc last name. And also Richard Winton. See, that one I can pronounce. LA County Sheriff Alex Villanova said Monday that his department will no longer use the county's coronavirus testing provider over concerns about the company's alleged ties to the Chinese government. It comes from China, okay? We don't want to use it here. It's from China. In a letter to the Board of Supervisors, Villanova said the FBI contacted him last week and held a briefing the day after Thanksgiving to relay the serious risks associated with allowing Fulgent to conduct COVID-19 testing of county employees. Villanova said the DNA data obtained are not guaranteed to be safe and secure from foreign governments, and that the FBI advised the information is likely to be shared with China. Fulgent Genetics, he said in the letter, has strong ties with the Chinese technology and genomics companies, but he did not elaborate on what those ties are. Villanova said he attended a briefing at the FBI's LA field office along with the county's top attorney and chief executive. An FBI spokesperson declined to comment when he asked to confirm what was discussed at the meeting. LA County Supervisor Sheila Keel said that she was invited to the briefing by text but could not attend because she was out of town for Thanksgiving. From what I heard about the briefing, there was no evidence at all, zero, that Fulgent had breached anything or had any relationship with the Chinese government that was harmful to the information that might be present in the samples that they're testing, she said. Well, they say the same thing about TikTok too. Oh, there's no evidence that TikTok shares anything with the Chinese government. Just don't worry about it and go watch this stupid fucking funny video. It's unclear whether the FBI met with any of the other federal, state, or local agencies that use Fulgent. We have no evidence that they met with anybody besides us, Keel said. The county's contract with Fulgent prohibits the disclosure of data collected without the county's written permission and requires the company store and process data in the continental United States, the county said in a statement on Monday. Federal agencies, including DHS, also contract with Fulgent, which is certified by the FDA, are accredited by the College of American Pathologists, and licensed by the California Department of Public Health. The statement said the company is based in Temple City. Oh, yes, the FDA approved it. Good enough for me! If a credible threat is confirmed or if the federal government takes any steps to rescind its certification, we will take immediate action to ensure no employee data is misused, the county statement said. But, once again, another blow for vaccine mandates and everything else that goes with it. And I don't know if Fulgen is sharing anything with the Chinese government, but if there's enough of a suspicion and you don't want to use it, you should still have the individual ability to do so. This should not be something that's outright strong-armed onto you. Now, if you still want to use Fulgen on your personal time, I mean, it's just like using TikTok, like I mentioned before. They call TikTok Chinese spyware. I don't know enough about it to know whether it is or not. I choose not to use TikTok because it's got ties to the CCP. And really, Instagram Reels do enough of the same thing that I'm getting the same kind of stupid shit. And it's just usually e-girls dancing. It's really all that it is. Sometimes you get a nice other little shorty video of somebody else here with, the Zoomers with their 25-second attention span, shit like that, but I choose not to use it. I do better with long-form content anyway. I choose not to use that kind of that thing. Just like I would probably choose not to use Fulgen if I did need to go out and get coronavirus testing. But what we're seeing here with LA County is more like LA County trying to strong-arm their people into using TikTok. Oh, well, if you want to work for this county, if you want to do stuff, because of the contracts that we have, you have to have TikTok on your phone. It doesn't matter what you think about them or their ties. So that's what we're seeing off of that. Other California news on the vaccine mandate. California town declares itself constitutional republic to protest COVID mandates. From the LA Times. LA Times writing in KTLA. Hey, it happens, I guess. For Oroville Vice Mayor Scott Thompson, the father of 2 young boys, Governor Gavin Newsom's mandate requiring school children to be vaccinated against COVID-19 was the final straw. He believed that the government had no right to tell him what to put into his or his children's bodies. Many of his constituents agreed when it came to pandemic mandates. And so he came up with a grandiose, headline-grabbing nom de guerre for his small Northern California city. Oroville declared itself a constitutional republic, a place where local leaders pledged to fight mandates they say go too far. Is there more to this? I don't know, but I'll have to archive it if there is. Let's see. Oh, it's already archived. I guess we can go read more of this. Neat. Any executive orders issued by the state of California or by the United States federal government that are overreaching or clearly violate our constitutionally protected rights will not be enforced by the city of Oroville against its citizens, read the declaration passed this month by the city council. The desire here is dialogue, Thompson said. For some, the declaration was a stand for freedom, but others in the town saw it as a reckless tantrum. Of course they do, because that's what they're going to do anytime they disagree with something. Oh, snowflake Trumpers are throwing a tantrum! Amid an ongoing pandemic that has killed more than 73,000 Californians, citation needed, please. Butte County, population of 220,000, has one of the state's lowest vaccination rates. As of Saturday, 47% of its residents were fully vaccinated, compared with 64% of all Californians. Butte County, largest hospital, the 298-bed Enloe Medical Center in Chico, has averaged 26 COVID patients over this past week, more than all but one hospital in LA County, home to 10 million people. Oroville resident Celia Hirschman lost her father, former San Francisco poet laureate Jack Hirschman, to COVID 3 months ago. She said the resolution insults people who have lost loved ones or are immunocompromised just to score political points. Dude. If you don't like it, there's nothing that says that you have to live there. Get on the city council if you don't like it and try to change your government. Or move. You can do both of those things. It's legal. I promise. It says we're cowboys and we're not going to live by your rules, she said. I don't think it's about open dialogue at all. I feel it's a dangerous measure that they have no business adding to our charter. Oroville, a city of 20,000, is now one of a growing number of rural California communities in recent years to label itself a sanctuary or a place otherwise exempt from some liberal ideal. 2 years ago, the desert town of Needles became a sanctuary city for the Second Amendment in a rebuke to California's strict gun control laws. And in defiance of the pandemic shutdown orders, the Central Valley towns of Atwater and Coalinga last year declared themselves, respectively, a sanctuary for business and a town where businesses are essential, with both losing emergency COVID-19 funding in the process. That's an interesting side note to this, too. When these states come out and defy the state government, or not the states, but these communities defy the state government, when they can come back and look at this and say, okay, well, if I'm not going to get your funding, I'll show you how to make it on our own. And I don't know how that's going to work, really honestly, especially with the draconian tax laws of California, and I'm sure that they're going to add extra taxes to try and suck these communities dry, because they cannot be allowed to succeed without Sacramento babysitting them. But an attempt is made. It absolutely is, and I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see people trying to push back at local levels. All right. On the other side of it, Supreme Court won't exempt mass hospital workers from vaccine mandate. From John Cruzel. Yeah, I've got Ghislaine stuff later on here. I think that's actually next up, after we get done with the COVID stuff. Yes. Yeah, starting with our friends over at NPR here later on in the morning here, we will be talking about the Maxwell trial. So sit tight and we will be going over that. I've got some stuff to talk about with that from NPR to start with. Supreme Court won't exempt mass hospital workers from vaccine mandate. From John Cruzel. The Supreme Court Monday turned away a group of healthcare workers who sought exemptions from their Boston-based hospital's mandatory COVID-19 vaccination policy. The request was denied without comment by Stephen Breyer, who handles emergency matters arising from the region. The application came from 8 employees of the Mass General Brigham Incorporated who were placed on unpaid leave or fired after refusing to be vaccinated. The workers had sought religious or medical exemptions, but were denied on an individualized basis. Their employer has granted more than 230 such exemptions in other cases. Monday's order comes after the Supreme Court recently rejected challenges to vaccine mandates by Maine healthcare workers, New York City public school teachers, and a group of students in Indiana University. Well, looking at this too, this is part of the hard part because I do tend to be consistent, and if your employer does make this requirement outside of a government mandate, then you are subject to your employer. You are an at-will employee. You're not under a contract, so nobody's in a breach of contract there. But it is, if your employer is that hard up and hard on to make you get a jab in your arm, you need to either decide whether it is that you want to continue to be employed by that company or go away, as long as there's no government mandate off of it. Now, if there's a government mandate, as in the case of the New York public school teachers, there is a case there because their employer is the government. But as far as your individual private company employer, if they tell you that a term to your employment is that you have to wear a yellow shirt every day to work, then you better go out and buy as much yellow stuff as you can, because hey, that's in the rules. That's in the individualized rules. As stupid as it sounds, that's in the rules. So unfortunately, I do have to come down on the side of the general hospital for this one, because these people knew what they were going into when they got into the healthcare system without a government mandate above. And I'm sure with the shortages around the country, and even in Massachusetts itself, and what I was finding out before I went live from my friend Kristen, that it is a hodgepodge around Massachusetts, and I'm sure you can go somewhere west of where you are and go find another job. It may not pay as much, but you will still be employed. You'll still be able to eat and live to fight another day. So that's what I would suggest for that. From ABC7. Yes, you're absolutely correct, Randy. They should be liable for damages. Absolutely. Just like if you're liable for damages if somebody gets hurt from wearing a yellow shirt. Business owners say enforcing the LA COVID vaccine mandate came with a smooth start. From Alex Cheney. The city of Los Angeles began its enforcement of the Safe Pass LA ordinance, one of the strictest COVID-19 vaccine mandates of its kind in the nation, as state health officials watch closely for the Omicron variant of the virus. If you find yourself in LA, be prepared to show proof of full vaccination against COVID. No. I'm going to correct you there, ABC7. If you find yourself in LA, get the fuck out of there as fast as you can. They're without power randomly. The county is on fire randomly, and now you have to show your papers, please, to get any fucking where in that city. People who are visiting indoor restaurants, gyms, entertainment and recreational facilities, personal care establishments in some city buildings are required to show proof of full vaccination. The city's new vaccine mandate took effect earlier this month. The Safe Pass LA ordinance includes individuals eligible for a pinko fucking pox jab. So far, many business owners say they've been playing by the rules. Yeah, go down into Watts and tell me how many people are playing by the rules. We enforced this 2 weeks ago, said Harry Ciafaris, the owner of Astro Diner in Silver Lake. We started doing it and we've had no problems. The customers understand, and if anybody's not vaccinated, they have the option to sit in the patio outside. I'm sure this will go over well in Compton as well. Accepted forms of proof of vaccination include a vaccine card issued by the CDC, or similar documentation issued by another foreign government agency, a photocopy of a vaccination card, or a photograph stored on a phone or electronic device. A personal digital COVID-19 vaccination record issued by the state of California or similar documentation issued by another state, local or foreign government jurisdiction, or by a private company. Documentation of a pinko pox jab by a healthcare provider. Yeah, and especially given the fact that the African American community statistically is one of the lowest vaccinated communities in this country, I'm sure that Watts and Compton are very, very happy to go and tell you what they think about your vaccine mandate. From the Associated Press. Oklahoma bid for guard exemption to vaccine mandate denied. From Lolita C. Baldor and Robert Burns. So, is Oklahoma just not going to have a National Guard anymore? Are they going to be a militia? Because that would be based as fuck. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Monday rejected a request by Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt that his state's National Guard be exempt from a Pentagon requirement that all military members be vaccinated against the pinko pox. Stitt, a Republican, had asked Austin in early November to suspend the mandate for members of the Oklahoma Guard. A spokesman for Stitt, Charlie Hanema, said in response to Austin's rejection letter that the governor maintains his position that he's commander-in-chief of the Oklahoma Guard while they're on Title 32 status, meaning while they're on active duty under state control but with pay and benefits provided by the federal government. That is actually correct, unfortunately. I don't like that either, by the way. Your state National Guard should be your state National Guard. It should not be your state National Guard brought to you by the federal government, which sucks at everything. The dispute is the first critical test of the military's authority to require National Guard troops to get the shot, and it could lay the groundwork for legal battles with the states that oppose the vaccine requirement. So far, Stitt is the only governor to publicly challenge the military mandate. In his letter to Stitt, a copy of which was obtained by the Associated Press, Austin left open the question of how the vaccine requirement will be enforced and how far the Pentagon will go to force the issue. He did suggest that Guard troops who refuse the shots could lose their federal status, which could impact their pay and future benefits. Austin wrote that all members of the Oklahoma Army and Air National Guard, regardless of duty status, must follow the directions of the Army and Air Force Service Secretaries for COVID-19 vaccine compliance deadlines. Failure to do so may lead to a prohibition on the members' participation in drills and training conducted under Title 32 of the U.S. Code and jeopardizes the member's status in the National Guard. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said any Oklahoma Guard member who refused to take the vaccine could be denied the opportunity to perform federally financed training. And that's one of the things, too. I mean, and if you go to the National Guard, you are supposed to be citizen soldier. Supposed to be, but you are still under the umbrella of the Pentagon. And what do we know? What have we been saying right from the beginning? And I don't agree with this either. But you have signed a contract if you're in the military up to and including your life for the betterment of the country. And if they think that they want to experiment on a bunch of young, healthy soldiers, it's cruel, it's unusual, and it's sick, but because of the contract that you signed to be in the military, they have every right to do so. We should see a drop in military enlistment right now. There should be such a drop in this. Because it is a bullshit mandate. But once again, I mean, this is not something new either. You know, Ron has told us in the chat before, as he walked, when he was in the military, they didn't tell him what they were giving him as far as vaccines go. They just lined a bunch of them up down the hall, told them to drop their pants. 1 needle, 2 needle, 3 needle, 4, right after another. They didn't tell them what they were getting. They just shoved them full of chemicals. I don't think that's right, but you signed the contract. And if you don't want to sign the contract, don't join the military. Wouldn't that be something to see? A big drop in enlistment and a lot of dishonorable discharges coming here, and then the military having to be filled out. Recruiters going to the Tumblr community. Hey, go just fill out here your name and your Tumblr gender, and we'll give you a gun. You like playing video games, right? NBC anchor tries to use pro-life argument to promote vaccine mandate. GOP governor hits back with Dr. Fauci's own words. This is from The Blaze. This is Chris Enlow for us. Chuck Todd. What is it that Rush used to call him? F. Chuck Todd attempted Sunday to promote COVID-19 vaccine mandates using the pro-life argument most commonly used to oppose abortion. But Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves used Saint Anthony of Fauci's own words to upend Todd's narrative. I'm sorry, I used the wrong title for him. He's not doctor, he's a saint. He's the patron saint of medicine. Reeves appeared on NBC's Meet the Depressed ahead of the Supreme Court hearing landmark case Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization this week that could ultimately overturn Roe versus Wade. Yeah, that's going to get interesting. The case stems from Mississippi law that bans abortion after 15 weeks into pregnancy. The law was designed to be a direct challenge to Roe. Oral arguments are expected to take place on Wednesday, but a decision likely won't come until next year, probably not until June when the court issues opinions before the summer recess. During an interview in which Todd intertwined questions about pro-abortion and about COVID vaccines, Todd argued that a vaccine mandate is a pro-life position. Let's listen, shall we?
Republican Tate Reeves, Mississippi's COVID caseload, by the way, is way down from its summer peak in late August, but cases there have also begun to bump up a bit again. So Governor Reeves, welcome to Meet the Press. And I know, for what it's worth, we invited you to talk about the Mississippi abortion case, and I do want to get to that. But let me start with COVID. You let your state of emergency expire on COVID last Saturday. Given the news of the last week, do you have a metric in mind in your own head and when you might reinstitute that state of emergency?
Well, Chuck, thanks for having me on this morning. I really do appreciate it. I hope you did have a happy Thanksgiving as well. We're certainly monitoring this new variant. We don't have all the data that we need to make decisions at this time. Obviously, as Dr. Fauci was very clear and pointed out correctly, Our cases are down significantly. We're at a 7-day moving average of about 235 cases. That's down over 90% from where we were in mid to late summer. You look at total hospitalizations in Mississippi, we have 175 Mississippians in hospital beds. We have only 59 Mississippians, and this is a state of 3 million, only 59 Mississippians in ICU beds. We have 28 Mississippians on the ventilator today. So our case numbers are way down. Our vaccination numbers continue to rise. We have 1.6 million Mississippians that have been vaccinated. That's not enough, but in talking to our state health officers, we believe that somewhere between 80 to 85% of Mississippians have some level of immunity, either natural immunity or immunity from having taken the shots. And I think one of the things that we've all got to start thinking about is the booster shots and encouraging, not mandating, but encouraging our fellow Mississippians to get vaccinated.
All right, do you accept the idea, though, that the campaigns like yourself and other Republican governors have had against vaccine mandates have sent the wrong message about getting the vaccine?
I actually believe that the president's decision to try to mandate vaccines, a decision that, by the way, flies in the face of what he said throughout the campaign, and that's one of the reasons his poll numbers are so low, is because he ran for office saying one thing and then he's decided to govern in a different way. But I actually think those mandates actually are hardening those individuals who are not interested in getting vaccinated. If you go around our state and you talk to those individuals that have not gotten vaccinated.
All right, we're not going to do an entire 10-minute video just to see Chuck Todd try to outthink a governor here, but the thing with the mandate, and that's what they're trying to come up and do, is to try, oh, the mandate is pro-life, and you're not pro-life if you don't want to mandate people go up and get this. Listen to what Tate Reeves said in that, like what he actually said for that. He's encouraging people to do so. He's excited for the vaccine numbers that he already has. He says, oh, it's not enough, but I mean, we got to do and encourage people to go get more and go start getting boosters. Because he is going to get sweet, sweet kickbacks off of this. But like he said, once, and I knew something was up too, when they started begging and started talking about mandates from the top. I knew that something was up. And I don't know, like I say, if they're putting a 5G tracker in you, if they're trying to do something else like that, if they're trying to inject you with mercury so we increase autism, if they're trying to sterilize people, or if it's just a big kickback for Pfizer and Moderna. That's the last one is the one that I tend to usually stick with, is that this is a massive, massive financial kickback for Pfizer and Moderna, so Pfizer and Moderna can go back and launder money for the DNC. That's the way I see it. I don't think that there's malicious intent from chemicals, because in spite of the fact that they are released from immunity, they do have some ethics when they go after this. Give them just a little bit of something so they think that they're getting something, so they think they get immunity, and then we get money, and we send people down the road. And we get to throw money back at the people who tried to mandate this for us. So that's what we're seeing off of that. Yeah, mandates are a pro-life position. Fuck off, Chuck Todd. Alright, what do we got? From the New York Post, Moderna CEO says existing COVID vaccines will struggle with Omicron. Go get another vaccine! It's Omicron! Moderna CEO Stéphane Bancel predicts there will be a material drop in the effectiveness of the current COVID-19 vaccines against the Omicron variant, and said it will take drug makers months to produce enough targeted jabs for the emergent strain. There's no world, I think, where the effectiveness is the same level we had with Delta, Bancel told the Financial Times on Monday. I think it's going to be a material drop. I just don't know, because we need to wait for the data. But all the scientists I've talked to are like, that's not going to be good. He added that the company's headquarters in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Bancel noted that the current vaccines against the virus may need to be modified due to the high numbers of the mutations in the variant spike protein that binds to human cells. On Monday, Moderna, BioNTech, and Johnson & Johnson said they're working on vaccines that, everybody's going to have to go back out and get. That specifically targeted Omicron. Bancil's comments came after he told CNBC's Squawk Box on Monday that the vaccine efficacy for the highly contagious Omicron has likely dropped, adding that the variant already appears to be much more infectious than the Delta variant. And yeah, it was the exact same bullshit that they told us about Delta. It is the exact same thing that they said at the beginning. And then you notice that that just dropped off in a hurry when it was realized that they couldn't get another vaccine out fast enough. Follow the money. Always follow the money. That's the first thing I always tell you. Follow the money. Another one from The Blaze. Biden says fight against Omicron variant will not include shutdowns or lockdowns. This is from Carlos Garcia. President Biden tried to assure Americans on Monday that the fight against the newest variant of the coronavirus model would not include shutdowns or lockdowns. Biden made the comments during a televised address from the White House on Thursday. Oh, chill! What am I supposed to be saying? Oh, okay. On Thursday, I'll be putting forward a detailed strategy outlining how we're going to fight COVID this winter. Not with shutdowns or lockdowns, but with more widespread vaccinations, boosters, and testing, and more, man. Come on. Oh, commercial.
Is that fast? Oh yeah, it's fast. Reliable? Definitely is. Secure? Oh yeah, it's secure. Love it.
It's not complicated. AT&T 5G is fast, reliable, and secure.
There you go. Go get AT&T.
There are three messages about the variant that I want the American people to hear. First, this variant is a cause for concern, not a cause for panic. We have the best vaccine in the world, the best medicines, the best scientists.
Cough in your elbow, Mr. President.
And we're learning more every single day. And we'll fight this variant with scientific and knowledgeable actions and speed, not chaos and confusion. We have more tools today to fight the variant than we've ever had before. From vaccines to boosters to vaccines for children, 5 years and older, and much more. A year ago, America was floundering against the first variant of COVID. We beat that variant significantly, and then we got hit by a far more powerful threat, the Delta variant. But we took action, and now we're seeing deaths from Delta come down. We'll fight and look, we're going to fight and beat this new variant as well. We're learning more about this new variant every single day. And as we learn more, we're going to share that information with the American people candidly and promptly. Second, the best protection, I know you're tired of hearing me say this, the best protection against this new variant or any of the variants out there, the ones we've been dealing with already, is getting fully vaccinated and getting a booster shot. Most Americans are fully vaccinated, but not yet boosted. If you're 18 years or over and got fully vaccinated before June the 1st, go get the booster shot today. They're free and they're available at 80,000 locations coast to coast. A fully vaccinated booster person is the most protected against COVID. Do not wait. Go get your booster if it's time for you to do so. And if you are not vaccinated, now's the time to get vaccinated and take your children to be vaccinated. Every child age 5 or older can get safe, effective vaccines now. While it will be a few weeks before we know everything we need to know about how strongly the existing vaccines protect against the new variant, Dr. Fauci is with me today, or our medical team, and believe that the vaccines will continue to provide a degree of protection against severe disease. And as additional protections, please wear your mask when you're indoors in public settings around other people. It protects you, it protects those around you. Third, in the event, hopefully unlikely, that updated vaccinations or boosters are needed to respond to this new variant.
So he's out here and he's trying to say, the best way to stay safe is to take your vaccine and your booster, even though the dude from BioNTech just said, no, this is not effective against the new variant. Got some wires crossed over here. But that's what we're hearing from that. All right, a little bit more Omicron news here from KGW8. OHSU researcher, only a matter of time until the COVID variant Omicron reaches Oregon. A new COVID-19 variant is called the Omicron variant, has been labeled one of concern by leading world health experts. Closer to home, leading researchers say it's only a matter of time until the variant reaches Oregon and Southwest Washington. Yeah, it's here. I think we do have a lot of predicting the future based on past experience, said Dr. William Messer from Oregon Health and Sciences University. He's both a medical doctor and a researcher over a PhD and is closely tracking the Omicron variant. Every other variant has made it here. Over time, I think it's highly likely this variant will make it here as well. Dude, it's here. They try to tell you it's not here, it's here. So, prepare for your lockdowns, buy a little bit of extra toilet paper, and prepare for people to go fucking nuts. That's all I have to say on this one. From NBC. Omicron may cause milder symptoms, but experts aren't breathing a sigh of relief yet. From Elizabeth Chuck. Amid the global concern over a new coronavirus strain has been one piece of hopeful news. Those infected with Omicron appear to have very mild symptoms, according to the South African doctor who first spotted the variant. Dr. Angelique Coetzee told the BBC that neither she nor her colleagues had admitted anyone to the hospital so far who had this particular strain. Her patients had experienced extreme fatigue, but no loss of taste or smell, which are often telltale symptoms of the pinko fucking pox, she said. Those early reports are encouraging, epidemiologists and other experts said. But they cautioned that there was little to no data, too little data to draw any conclusions yet. Their bigger concern, they said, was how quickly the Omicron, with its high number of mutations, might spread and how it will match up against vaccines. I don't think we know anything about the virulence. What we are worried about is the transmissibility and the immune evasion capabilities, said Dr. Amesh Adulja, an infectious disease doctor and a senior scholar at Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. Adulja said he suspected vaccination would still provide strong protection against every severe disease, while unvaccinated people who have natural immunity from previous COVID infections could be at even higher risk for getting the virus again. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, even if they come out in South Africa and say, you sniffle for a couple days and it's over, NBC has to come out here and spread the fear porn once again. Panic! Panic, please! Please, just panic! So we can sell you more stuff and keep you glued to our television. From CNN. Omicron poses 3 major threats to the U.S. economy, says Jerome Powell. From David Goldman. Here we go again. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is set to testify Tuesday that the Omicron variant threatens America's economic recovery. Much remains unknown about Omicron, yet if it prolongs the pandemic, it could also keep prices rising, hurt job growth, and make the supply chain crisis worse. The recent rise in COVID-19 cases and the emergence of the Omicron variant pose downside risks to the employment and economic activity and increased uncertainty for inflation, Powell wrote in a prepared testimony he's set to deliver Tuesday to the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and the Urban Affairs. Wall Street sold off stock and oil Friday after learning about the potential highly infectious and more immunity-resistant variant, but the market regained much of its lost ground on Monday after investors took a breath and sensed a buying opportunity. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like, well, we're about to tank the economy again, so here's our excuse. Don't worry about the inflation because it's just because of Omicron. That's all I have on that. And the last one on the pinko pox, before we get into the Ghislaine. What's it the conservative likes to call her? The Jizz Trap! Before we get into Ghislaine Maxwell's trial here, from the New York Post, CDC now says all adults should get COVID booster shots amid Omicron fears. From Salim Algar. The CDC upped its urgency over coronavirus vaccine boosters on Monday, saying every U.S. adult should now get the extra shot because of the Omicron variant. The federal agency previously said that while every adult was eligible for a booster, only those ages 50 and older and those 18 and above in long-term care should really make a point of getting it. But given heightened concerns over Omicron, the CDC now says everyone over 18 should get the boosters. Today, the CDC is strengthening its recommendations on booster doses for individuals who are 18 and older, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said in a statement. The recent emergence of the Omicron variant further emphasizes the importance of vaccinations, boosters, and prevention efforts needed to protect against the pinko pox, she said. The agency said adults should seek booster shots 6 months after the second dose of the Moderna and Pfizer jabs or 2 months after the Johnson & Johnson shot. And that's the magical thing about this. Now, there are people that ran out there and got the jab right away. Britt, from the Freckles and Britt show, was one of them because she has immune-compromised kids. And she said it to me, you know, looking back on something, when there was a big charity stream that I took over from the Generational Gap because Rob was having internet issues that day. And mine was, my internet was running fine, so we ran it off my computer instead of his. But Britt was there. It was one of the first time Britt was on a Freedom Scoop program. And it was right at the start of the pinko fucking pox. And she was in her house wearing a mask. And somebody commented months later. I think it was right after inauguration. So, like April of last year to February this year, somebody commented on this and said, dude, why the fuck is she wearing a mask? I'm like, because at the time, and look at the date stamp, this was in April. We had no idea what's happening here, and she has immune-compromised kids. She did what was best for her family, and she ran out and got the jab right away because she thought this was best for her family. But as they try to pump another booster into your arm, and another booster into your arm, and another booster into your arm, more people are looking at this and saying, what the fuck? This was supposed to be over after we got our 2-shot regimen. And now we have to go back every couple months and take another booster and take another booster. The more they try to mandate more boosters, the more people are waking up to this. And yes, I'm sure that you're going to fuel some more anti-vaxxers. I love you, Stephen. But you're going to fuel more of those people who are saying autism and 5G tracker and the birds aren't real and that kind of stuff over this. But you're also going to look at this. You're going to see some of this, and people are going to start to say, hey, who's getting money off of this? Whose end game is it for them to keep mandating more and more of this? Follow the money. Follow the money. That's the big one. Well, the vaccine and the booster are free. No, they're not. They're free to end user, but somebody is still paying for that, and it's the American taxpayer. All right, let's talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and we're going to start here with our friends over at NPR. As Ghislaine Maxwell trial opens, prosecutors allege a pyramid scheme of abuse. This is from Jason Breslow, Bill Chappelle, Emma Bowman, and James Dubeck. And remember, they're going to listen to the trial for you, so you don't have to. So do make sure that you hit that donate button for NPR, because your taxpayer money, our taxpayer money, comrade, is not enough to keep them in quiet microphones spread all across the world. They need your help with our money, comrade, to spread their communism everywhere. NPR, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what they have to say. Opening statements began Monday in the federal sex trafficking trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, the once prominent socialite who stands accused of helping disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein exploit and abuse multiple girls, including one as young as 14, over nearly a decade. In the aftermath of Epstein's apparent death by suicide. Yeah, that's what happened, NPR. The highly anticipated trial is seen as the government's best and perhaps last opportunity to secure a conviction for his alleged crimes. Opening statements started Monday afternoon after the final members of a 12-person jury were selected and the jury was impaneled. The prosecution intends to show Maxwell as an essential to Epstein's abuse. Assistant U.S. Attorney Laura Pomerantz began by telling the story of a woman identified with the pseudonym Jane Doe, who said she was 14 years old when Epstein and Maxwell approached her at a camp. Pomerantz alleged that Epstein and Maxwell ran a pyramid scheme of abuse, and that Doe, who would go on to be sexually abused and exploited for years, was not the only one. They were partners in crime. They had a playbook, Pomerantz said, of Epstein and Maxwell. Prosecutors repeatedly used the words children and kids to describe the alleged victims and paint a picture of Epstein and Maxwell targeting victims from poor and broken families. I want to step back for just a second here before we get into this and notice some of the wording and some of the propaganda that's into this versus the propaganda and wording of the Rittenhouse trial. And this is, by the way, the third high-profile trial that we're going to be watching right now. And this is a federal trial, so this isn't going to be televised or anything, but the third high-profile trial that's going to be in the minds of the American people right now. And think back to the Rittenhouse trial and the insanity that the left dropped over the fact that Judge Schrader says, well, we can't call them victims here. The prosecution cannot call Mr. Rosenbaum and Mr. Grosskreutz and Mr. Huber, he can't call them victims. The defense can call them looters and rioters, but they are encouraged to only do so in closing arguments. But you cannot call them victims. And the pain and the cries of anguish that came from the left as soon as that ruling came out. Now look at NPR, what they said here. Prosecutors repeatedly use the words children and kids to describe the alleged victims. That word right there, the alleged victims, which was permissible, by the way. In the Rittenhouse court case, it was permissible for them to say alleged victims. It's just they didn't want to come out and say victims because self-defense was a major part of this trial. Like was said in the beginning. As soon as Judge Schrader made that ruling, this is not a new thing. When you're in the middle of doing some sort of trial for anything, to use the word victim invokes a certain emotional reaction. And I would even go as far to say alleged victim. Goes a little bit too far off of that, but it's more accurate than just coming out and saying, oh, they're victims, so this person should automatically be convicted. And NPR has no problem saying alleged victims in this case. They said that they intended to prove Maxwell was essential to Epstein's abuse of girls, and that she was a predator herself, and did it to stay part of Epstein's lavish lifestyle. Defense lawyer Bobby Sternheim, meanwhile, said Maxwell was being blamed for Epstein's actions. Ever since Eve was accused of tempting Adam for the apple, women have been villainized, she said, adding that Epstein is not on trial. He's the proverbial elephant in the room. Defense lawyers said they intend to show the accuser's memories can be wrong and that can be manipulated by press coverage. The trial is not being televised or streamed online, and while a video feed from the courtroom is being shown in an adjacent overflow room, attendees are barred from photographing or broadcasting the proceedings. Maxwell, 59, is being tried on multiple trafficking-related counts, including enticing minors to travel to engage in illegal acts and sex trafficking a minor. The indictment also accuses her of conspiracy, including using one of Epstein's victims to recruit other girls to engage in paid sex acts with Epstein, which she did. Maxwell has pleaded not guilty. The government has sought to portray Maxwell as the chief coordinator of a sadistic trafficking ring that victimized teenage girls for Epstein's benefit. Prosecutors for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York alleged that from around 1994 till at least 2004, Maxwell assisted, facilitated, and contributed to Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls by, among other things, helping Epstein to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse their victims. There is a lot of stuff to look at with this, and I don't usually say that NPR is right, but they've got a couple things right on the money with this one here. One of the biggest problems, and one of the things that I've especially seen around Liberty Twitter, and even conservative Twitter at this point with Maxwell, is the fact that I think a lot of people are looking at this and wondering if she is the sacrificial lamb for the fact that they never got to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein. That is a distinct possibility in the world that we're living in, and with all the details that are coming out about this, that is a distinct way to look at this. I do hope that she gets to see her day in court for the crimes that she actually committed and not just serve as a proxy for Epstein. Or see a jury that wants to see her burn for what Epstein did. And I think that she should definitely sit in prison for the well, I think she should go to the wood chipper for what she did herself, but there is a difference. There definitely is. So this is going to be an interesting one to see and hear and see where all this goes. Now, of course, there's no televised footage of this, so we're never going to see anything. We're never going to see a statement. And we are at the mercy of the media and a few people who are calling on to a 1-800 phone line that are going to be listening to this. Audio stream is available only through an old school phone line. But that's what we have off of that. From CNBC, Jeffrey Epstein's pilot called as the first witness in Ghislaine Maxwell's sex crime trial. From Dan Mangan and Tom Winter. A former longtime pilot of sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein was called as the first witness Monday at the federal criminal trial of the British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, who was accused of procuring underage girls to be sexually abused by Epstein years ago. The pilot, Larry Vazowski, flew Epstein's Boeing 727 on multiple trips, according to Florida law enforcement files obtained by NBC News. Those records appear to show that he was at the controls for several flights when Maxwell and others were on board. Vazowski was called to the witness stand in the U.S. District Court in Manhattan by prosecutors after opening arguments in the case. Earlier Monday, Business Insider reported that the Federal Aviation Administration inadvertently mailed the publication a portion of Epstein's flight records related to 2,300 flights by 4 private jets registered to Epstein between 1998 and 2020. The FAA previously denied a public records request for those files. Maxwell's federal trial comes almost 17 months after her arrest in New Hampshire. It starts more than 2 years after the 66-year-old Epstein killed himself. Epstein didn't kill himself. In a Manhattan jail while awaiting his own trial on federal sex trafficking charges. Maxwell, who's been held without bail since her arrest, has pleaded not guilty in the case. She is charged with conspiracy to entice or coerce minors to travel and engage in illegal sex acts, sex trafficking, and other charges. I have not committed any crime, the 59-year-old said at a November 1st court hearing. The jury for the trial was seated on Monday morning. 18 jurors were picked for the case. 12 of them will deliberate on a verdict, and 6 others will be alternates. I'd be interested to hear what the evidence was for this and where this goes, but, once again, the mainstream media has no interest in this. Until Ghislaine Maxwell kills herself. Rest in peace, Ghislaine Maxwell, December 25th, 1964 to sometime in the next 2 weeks. From the Daily Beast, you know that this is going to be definitely something truthful. From the Daily Beast, schoolgirl outfits, gifts to teens, sex abuse every day, Fed slammed Ghislaine Maxwell on first day of the trial. From Kate Brisklett and Justin Rorlick. They were young girls who dreamed of becoming professional musicians or models or actresses, but they often came from poor families and their parents needed money. They were the perfect targets for a pair of high society predators who dazzled them with fabulous wealth and promised them the world, and who then allegedly groomed, molested, and raped them. Such was the story presented by federal prosecutors on the first day of Ghislaine Maxwell's trial in connection to multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. The 59-year-old British heiress is accused of procuring underage girls for Epstein to molest in what prosecutors called a pyramid scheme of abuse. 4 victims will testify that Maxwell participated in Epstein's sex ring, including one who says the couple involved her in group sexualized massages when she was only 14. Maxwell has denied the charges. The jury will hear from Epstein's pilots, household staff, members of law enforcement, and a former employee of the multimillionaire. Evidence in the trial will include a schoolgirl outfit, flight logs, and FedEx records showing Epstein's gifts to a girl who was only 15 years old. Maxwell's lawyers hit back, claiming she was being scapegoated for Epstein's crimes. Ever since Eve was accused of tempting Adam with her apple, women are blamed for the bad behavior of men, said defense lawyer Bobby Steinham on Monday. The charges against Ghislaine are 4 things Jeffrey Epstein did: But she is not Jeffrey Epstein. She is not like Jeffrey Epstein. She's not like any other powerful men. Moguls, media giants who abuse women. Oh, we're going to go the victim route on this, aren't we? Oh, she's just a woman. She couldn't possibly have done anything like this. She couldn't possibly. Oh my God. In the 90s, Maxwell was known as Epstein's socialite girlfriend who connected the up-and-comer to rich and powerful pals, including Prince Andrew, who has been accused of participating in the sordid sex ring. The royal claims he's innocent. Later victims say Maxwell allegedly served as the financier's madam, recruiting schoolgirls to give them erotic massages and grooming them for abuse. Prosecutors called Maxwell Epstein's best girl and right hand in court on Monday. She preyed on vulnerable young girls, manipulated them, and served them up to be abused. That is what this trial is about, said Assistant U.S. Attorney Laura Pomerantz. She claimed Maxwell was drawn to Epstein's life of luxury, which included sumptuous private homes in New Mexico, New York, and Paris, private island, private planes, and astounding wealth. The enigmatic Epstein reportedly reminded many people of Maxwell's own troubled and charismatic father, Robert Maxwell, a newspaper magnate whose life swirled with rumors and connections to foreign spy agencies, who swindled his employees out of their pensions, who died in a mysterious accident off his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine. Robert Maxwell left his family in massive debt, but Epstein helped Ghislaine regain and maintain the lifestyle to which she was accustomed, prosecutors say. Yeah, it's interesting how women are independent and empowered, and just as powerful as men until it comes to a federal sex trafficking crimes. That's interesting. Summer camp for talented kids. We saw that one already. Epstein abused underage girls like her every single day. Prosecutors say he would start with the sexualized massages, then proceed to penetration and oral rape. Sometimes they say Maxwell was in the room when the abuse took place. Sometimes they say she touched the girls herself. So, there's probably a good reason this isn't going to be live streamed or televised. I don't think this would get past the YouTube TOS. From the New York Post, Maxwell's lawyer reveals defense strategy. The Bible manipulated victims and a scapegoat. From Ben Pureheard. Yeah, we've heard a little bit of this already in the other ones. Maxwell's defense attorneys on Monday portrayed her as the scapegoat, being accused because of the bad behavior of men. One in particular, since prosecutors never had the chance to put the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein on trial. Her lawyer, Bobby Sternheim, invoked the Bible at the start of the opening statement, arguing that women have been condemned for crimes committed by men since the beginning of time. Ghislaine is on trial here, and you'll hear a lot about the conduct of Jeffrey Epstein. She is filling that hole. No, Epstein was filling the hole. That's part of the reason that we're having this trial right now. And filling an empty chair, said Sternheim, adding that her client was a convenient stand-in for the dead sex offender. Sternheim also took aim at the 4 alleged victims in the case, saying they've been taken advantage of by aggressive civil defense attorneys, and in some cases searching for a payday. Memory manipulation and money, Sternheim repeatedly told jurors, could be raised by defense attorneys as they seek to sow doubt in the prosecution's case. And the battery in my phone is going to die here, so we got to end the Instagram stream early, which is sucky because it was actually running pretty well. But let's throw that one on the charger here. Keep going with this. Of the victims, Sternheim said, was not introduced to Epstein by Maxwell, but rather by another accuser, Virginia Giuffre, and her claims never included alleged crimes committed by Maxwell until after Epstein's death. The reason that her story switched, Sternheim said, is because she was seeking cash from Epstein's victims fund and turned over information about Maxwell's prosecutors in an effort to bolster that claim. In many regards, he was like a 21st century James Bond, Sternheim said about Epstein. His mystery... Oh, come on! He's a 21st century James Bond! Now, 21st century James Bond is black and a woman. His accusers have shaken the money tree and millions of dollars have fallen their way. Defense attorneys will also poke holes in the prosecution by attempting to show 2 of the victims in the case were above age of consent when sexual contact between them and Epstein took place, Sternheim said. One of the victims, Sternheim said, only met Maxwell when she was 16 years old in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is above the age of consent in the state. So, a lot of stuff happening with this and a lot of stuff to see. I'm kind of interested to see where this goes. I really am. From Newsweek. Who is Maureen Comey? James Comey's daughter is lead prosecutor in Ghislaine Maxwell trial. From Isabel Van Bruggen. We'll save that one, because I'll archive that. I screwed up. That was my fault. Is that the last one? That is the last one. So I gotta archive that. We'll do that one tomorrow, talking about Maureen Comey. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but let's move on. Let's talk about the debt ceiling. I told you I wouldn't let you guys forget about the debt ceiling that's looming. I told you guys I wouldn't let you forget about that, even though the mainstream media wants you to forget about this. So let's talk just a bit about that. From The Hill. No deal in sight as Congress nears debt limit deadline. From Alexander Bolton. Congress is only a couple weeks away from hitting, is it December 15th? I thought it was the 3rd. From hitting the December 15th deadline to raise the federal debt limit, and Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer and Minority Leader Turtleman didn't appear to be anywhere close to a deal. Democrats insist that Schumer will not burn up a week of Senate floor time to use the budget reconciliation process to raise the debt limit with only Democrat votes. And Republicans say there's no way that McConnell will be able to round up 10 Republican votes to quash an expected filibuster from conservatives such as Ted Cruz and allow Democrats to pass the debt limit legislation with a simple majority under regular order. At the same time, both leaders want to avoid another standoff that could threaten the nation's credit rating and have stepped back from the combative rhetoric they were using in September and early October. McConnell walked over to Schumer's office on November 18th for the first in-person sit-down meeting since Democrats took over the Senate in January. Afterwards, he told reporters, "We kind of agree to keep talking, working together to try to get somewhere." But the big problem, according to senators and Senate aides, is that there aren't any easy ways forward. Pat Toomey has proposed that Democrats use the budget reconciliation process to raise the debt limit, in which case Republicans would yield back time and not drag it out, so that it could be done in a few days. The problem with this option is that it will require 2 long series of votes on amendments, known as vote-a-ramas, to first amend the 2022 budget resolution to establish a new reconciliation instruction, and then pass the vehicle that would raise the debt limit. And also, they lose the budget reconciliation bill that they've been trying to pass the Build Back Better agenda since January. But the Hill won't tell you that. Expediting the process or skipping one or both of the vote-a-ramas would require getting unanimous consent from all 100 senators. There is no certainty that conservatives such as Cruz, Paul, or Mike Lee would allow Democrats to move quickly when their next step would be to try to pass the $2 trillion Build Back Better Act before Christmas. Another option would be for McConnell to let Democrats advance long-term legislation under regular order, but insist the measure raise the debt limit to a specific number instead of merely postpone it until after the 2022 midterm elections. The big reason Republicans want Schumer to use the budget reconciliation is that it would force vulnerable Democrats such as Warnock and Kelly to vote in a higher debt number instead of a suspension of the debt ceiling to a later date. The benefit to Schumer is that it would allow him to use the time-consuming budget reconciliation process and would fulfill his demand that the debt limit be raised on a bipartisan basis because Republicans would have to agree to let the Senate proceed to a final up or down vote. Plus, they'd be fucked on the Build Back Better bill. The potential pitfall with the second option is that Cruz, Paul, or Lee, or any other conservative, could object to a request to let the debt limit bill proceed to final passage. That means it would fall to McConnell again to round up 10 GOP votes to get the measure over the 60-vote procedural threshold. When 11 Republican senators, including McConnell, did so in October, it prompted an angry backlash, including from former President Trump, who accused the Senate GOP of giving up leverage to stop President Biden's agenda. So that's coming up here. It doesn't look like according to the Hill, it doesn't look like there's any way to go forward without, use that budget reconciliation, get it all done and get it out of here. Then you own it. And hey, that Build Back Better agenda that you've been ripping on and screaming and crying about since February, that's all gone too. Which I kind of want to see him do that. I really do. I want to see him use the reconciliation on the debt ceiling. Yes, I know it's going to suck and the national debt will go up, but it will kill. It will end the Build Back Better agenda. So that's what we have coming from that. However, from NBC, Manchin indicates pathway to resolve debt ceiling standoff. From Tegan Flynn. Joe Manchin suggested Monday there's a path forward to vote on the debt ceiling and avoid what could be the country's first ever default. I understand there's an agreement with the Republicans to do a very quick reconciliation by itself for the debt ceiling only, Manchin told reporters, referring to the ability to pass legislation with a simple majority in the Senate instead of 60 votes typically needed. I think that's our responsibility to make sure that we take care of the debt ceiling. Democrats are now in control, so we want to make sure that we do it and do it right, he said. That pathway has been given. I don't know what's going to be done, but that pathway has been given. Senate Majority Leader Chuck U. Schumer and Minority Leader Turtleman have been holding discussions about resolving the debt ceiling. NBC News has reached out to both of their offices for comment. Asked later in the day about a potential deal, Manchin said, "No details, we're negotiating." Schumer told reporters separately, "Hopefully, we can come to an agreement to get this done." The clock is ticking on raising or suspending the federal debt limit. The Treasury Department has said the government might not be able to meet its financial obligations after December 15th. Well, stop spending money. You drunken fucking morons. I had to put brakes on my pickup this past month. Plus, picked up a new bill as I'm trying to get myself back out of debt and get myself back on track because I want to go buy some property at this point, and I need to go fix a few things in order to do so. There are a couple things that are going along with that, and a couple things that I need to do and go take care of with that. But what I'm going with this on this month, by the way, donations are always welcome. But what I'm going to on this month is I'm running up against my monetary limit right now. You know what I did? Instead of going out there and asking my bank to raise my debt limit or anything else like that, I stopped spending fucking money. I tapped into a little bit of my meat reserves for the week, which included an amazing pork roast. I cut my spending as much as I could. I bought generic where I could. Of course, we talked with Katie Zed last night, and with soap allergies, I couldn't exactly do so with the dish soap, but I stopped spending money. Government, stop spending money. Seriously. This is not that hard. Another big story that anything else would have been on the top news, except for the fact we had all the vaccine mandate stuff to go over. From the Daily Wire, Joe Biden turned corruption into the family business, new book alleges. This is from Ben Johnson. It's amazing. I went to bed last night thinking that I wouldn't be able to fill an hour because there were so few news stories to go over, and everything was just review of old stuff. And then now we're sitting here and looking at the fact that we're going to run out of time again. Long before Hunter Biden ever considered joining a Ukrainian energy company named Burisma, Joe Biden and his family used his power and position to leverage business deals with businesses seeking his influence, according to a new book. Biden personally benefited from his political influence in a series of fortuitous real estate landfalls, even as virtually every member of the Biden family claimed its own piece of the pie, writes New York Post columnist Miranda Devine in her new book, Laptop from Hell, Hunter Biden, Big Tech, and the Dirty Secrets the President Tried to Hide. While Joe Biden waged war on white privilege from the White House, his own family was the living embodiment of the worst of it, writes Devine. Joe has always made sure that the Bidens lived a life of unearned privilege and entitlement under his beneficent patronage. She continues in the book, which hits store shelves on Tuesday. Like members of a hereditary aristocracy, the Bidens would have access to the best America can give, the most prestigious educational institutions, internships, clerkships, scholarships, directorships, and government sinecures. Decades ago, the president decided Hunter Biden would act as the family's cash cow, Devine said. Hunter, who preferred to be an artist or a writer, was assigned the role of paying the bills for the rest of the family through lucrative grace and favor jobs and sweetheart deals facilitated by Joe's network of connections in Delaware and later throughout the world, she writes. In addition to records from his missing laptop showing that Hunter held 10% of a Chinese business deal for the big guy, Devine quotes an email Hunter wrote to his oldest daughter, Naomi, in 2019. I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard, but don't worry, unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half of your salary. Hunter later allegedly complained to his aunt, who raised him after his mother's tragic death, that although Joe Biden co-signed student loans for Hunter and Beau, he expected Hunter to pay off both loans. Dad never paid one dime, Hunter wrote in an email. The book says. Devine says she found evidence that Joe benefited from Hunter's deals in multiple emails, including one concerning JRB bills. In another email detailed by Devine, dated April 12th of 2018, Hunter gets locked out of his Wells Fargo accounts because my dad has been using most lines on this account, which I, through the gracious offerings of Eric Schwarwin, close family advisor, have paid for the past 11 years. When Schwerin writes about the amount of money in my account, his scare quotes imply that the content belongs to him in name only. Devine traces how this began decades earlier in Delaware. Devine writes that the entire Biden family benefited from the grift run by Joe Biden, including the future president himself. In 1975, first-term U.S. Senator Joe Biden bought a grand 10,000-square-foot, 5-bedroom DuPont mansion with pool house, basketball court, and manicured gardens for $185,000, Devine writes. In 1996, he would sell the estate for $1.2 million to John Cochran. The vice chairman of MBNA Contemporaneous Media accounts suggest that this more than the property was worth, and Cochran financed the gain while selling his own home in nearby Maryland with a significant loss. Luckily, MBNA reimbursed Cochran $330,115 for making the move. The New York Times reported that Lunch Bucket Joe upgraded to his next mansion with the help of campaign donors and bankers with an interest in legislation before the Senate, who bought his old house for top dollar, sold him 4 acres and cost him at cost and lent him $500,000 to build his new home. The same year, Devine reports MBNA gave Hunter Biden his first job fresh out of law school with a salary of $100,000 a year, as well as a signing bonus. Biden stayed at the firm for more than 2 years. He then moved to another $100,000 a year job at the Clinton administration's Commerce Department upon the recommendation of Biden's lawyer, William Oldeker, in 1998, then to Oldeker's lobbying firm, Oldeker, Biden & Belair. Meanwhile, MBNA would strongly support a 2005 bankruptcy bill that made it harder for people, including members of the military, to declare bankruptcy. So would Joe Biden. Joe Biden's younger brother, Jimmy Biden, has been a lifelong beneficiary of the Biden name. In the 70s, Joe was entering the Senate and taking a seat on the Banking Committee. James obtained unusually generous loans from lenders who later faced federal regulatory issues, Politico noted. Devine says the grift would continue as Jim partnered with Hunter Biden in a series of international investments schemes, including Ukraine and China. Don't worry about investors, the president's younger brother Jim Biden reportedly told investors in his hedge fund, Paradigm Global Advisors. We've got people all around the world who want to invest in Joe Biden. Sometimes payoffs came directly from the U.S. taxpayer. Hunter's aunt, Val, received an appointment to the UN position that paid $26,000 over 4 months. Her daughters, Hunter's cousins, Missy and Casey, received full-time jobs in the Obama administration, as did Hunter's business partner, Eric Schwerin. So, my main question for this is why now? Are we going to be looking, are they giving ammunition at this point to try to impeach Biden and put somebody else back into the office? Is this Harris's ticket? Is this Harris's ticket into the White House at this point? Because this is something, we probably should have known about long, long ago. Especially if this is as public record as it seems to be. But if true, and there, once again, needs to be verified, this is impeachment level stuff. And this is the level of corruption, by the way, that we were told was going to come out of the Trump White House. We were told that this is the level of corruption that Trump was going to do if he were taken into office, that he was going to use his office to enhance all of his business dealings. And in fact, all of his business dealings faltered. They didn't fail. He's actually doing fairly well in most of his businesses still, but a lot of them faltered because nobody wants to touch the Trump name with a 10-foot pole right now. Nobody wants to touch that name with a 10-foot pole anywhere or anything that he's been associated with. But this is some stuff. I kind of want to see this book now. I really do. Another one from the New York Post. More money than God. Chinese titan lavished Hunter Biden with 3-carat gem offer of $30 million. This is directly from Miranda Devine. The Biden family offered their services to a huge Chinese government-linked energy consortium to expand its business around the world. How do we know? Because of hundreds of emails documenting the deal found on Hunter Biden's laptop left in a Delaware repair shop in April of 2019. In her new book, Laptop from Hell, New York Post columnist Miranda Devine tells the tale. Excuse me, I got hiccups. James Gillier, a wire 56-year-old British ex-SAS officer, got to know Yi Jianming, the 40-year-old chairman of CEFC, when they were both working in the Czech Republic. CEFC was China's conglomerate, one of the largest energy companies in the world. Yi's task was to spend $1.5 billion as quickly as possible to ensure the Czech Republic would become China's gateway to the European Union, a priority of President Xi Jinping. To that end, Yi brought everything from a football team and a brewery to an airline before being named Special Economic Advisor to Czech President Milos Zeman. Now he was looking for an influential partner to help with acquisitions in other locations around the world that had strategic significance to the Chinese state. Gilliar had an idea who could help the Biden family. Gilliar connected with Hunter through a trusted Biden family friend, Rob Walker, a former Clinton administration official whose wife, Betsy Massey Walker, had been Jill Biden's assistant when she was second lady. Gilliar emailed Walker on February 2015 to praise Hunter's appearance in Beijing at a board meeting of the fledgling investment fund Hunter founded with John Kerry's son called BHR. He emailed Hunter a few weeks later, "It's been made clear to me that CEFC wishes to engage in further business relation with our group." Gilliar knew CEFC was the capitalist arm of President Xi's Belt and Road Initiative to spread China's influence and debt traps across the world. No Chinese company executed its goals more ardently than CEFC and its young chairman, who was dubbed the Belt and Road Billionaire in the press. Chairman Yi had built his provincial energy company into a Fortune 500 colossus virtually overnight, an achievement described by Chinese news agency Caxin as another great enigma. In the miraculous world of Chinese business, he enjoyed the support of President Xi and was former Deputy Secretary General of the government's propaganda arm, the Chinese Association for International Friendly Contacts. So there is a lot of stuff going on here. I'm gonna save this one too. We're gonna go more into this, just because there's so much here. There is this massive amount of stuff here that definitely needs to be talked about. So let's save that for a little while. All right, what else do we have here that we want to get to today? Because we're out of time. I think we're actually going to call it here and head over to the Daily Ignoramus. But before we do head out on a Tuesday, the last thing that we always do is the Twitter trending for the day. So let's get the Explore page up and let's see what we have trending for the day. But I mean, yeah, this Hunter Biden thing, this is massive. All right, on the trending tab. Number one trend today is Giving Tuesday. Today is one of those holiday-themed holidays, or the Christmas-themed holidays that we get between Christmas and Thanksgiving. You know, we've got Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, I don't remember what Sunday is, Cyber Monday, and now Giving Tuesday. People around the world give back to their communities and contribute to the global generosity movement on Giving Tuesday. So let's see just some of the things that people have been giving. Thank you to the children, families, and staff at 4Kids US who opened their hearts and shared their stories with me last week on Giving Tuesday, encouraging all Americans to find a way to give back to the people and organizations to help their community. From Melania Trump, verified Melania Trump. Giving Tuesday, official account says we are really excited for Giving Tuesday. Michelle Obama, tomorrow's Giving Tuesday. And as you think about where to donate this year, I want you to introduce you to 16-year-old Sonia, an 11th grader who lives in Debosch, Haiti, who your support for Girls Alliance Fund can help girls like her around the world. And then she gives a GoFundMe, which I don't recommend to use, but that would be an actual admirable charity to give to. That's the thing, too. I mean, it's Giving Tuesday. Get around the government. Give to charity. Private charity is better than what the government could ever do. Here's another one. America's Vet's Dog, to learn more how to help provide service dogs to veterans and first responders free of charge. Absolutely. So yes, today is Giving Tuesday. Make sure that if you've got something to give to a charity, that you do give a little bit to charity right now today, just to help out. And don't let the government do it for you. Do it yourself. The government sucks at everything. All right, next one. We skipped the Tuesday vibe. Bays. Javier Bays has signed a $140 million deal with the Tigers. Isn't he a Cub at this point? No, he's a Met. Javier Bays is leaving the Mets for a 6-year deal with the Detroit Tigers. Well, Mets suck. Mets suck, Yankees suck, Knicks suck. You complained and hated Javi Bays for more than anyone on the planet. Now you love him and want the Mets to sign him, almost as if you were wrong. Quote tweeting Frank Fleming, who says more failure, KFC Barstool. What are you going to say when he walks as Mets get cheaper by the minute? So Javier Bays, enjoy Detroit. Swalwell. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Eric Swalwell shares his thoughts on Twitter about those who refuse to get vaccinated against COVID-19. A frustrated Eric Swalwell erupts on those who won't get vaccinated. Let's mark that for tomorrow. We'll talk about that tomorrow. From the official Eric Swalwell account, the representative account, I'm losing my COVID patients. I've tried to reason with the unvaxxed. I've directed some to medical pros. I don't judge. Yes, you do. But hear them out and steer them to facts. The unvaxxed love to say it's about choice, but you know who doesn't have a choice? My kids. My 3 kids under 5. Are they your kids from your marriage, or are they your kids from Fang Fang? And also, there's never been a hoax that Swalwell didn't fall for. Because he fell for the Smollett thing, he fell for the Fang Fang thing. He felt a lot. Sarah Gonzalez says, your 3 kids under 5 will have far greater problems having Eric Swalwell as a father than they will from COVID. Burn! And Politibunny, we'll get the last one off of this before we move on to the next one. Bring it on! Hashtag Fangbanger. Eric Swalwell's attempt at getting all big and bad with parents and the unvaccinated fails spectacularly. Yeah, we'll mark that. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Alright, that's 3. Barbados. Barbados becomes a republic and removes Queen Elizabeth II as the head of state. So I guess November 30th is Independence Day for Barbados. Sandra Mason becomes Barbados' first president, replacing Queen Elizabeth as the head of state. It comes almost 400 years after the British colonized the island and enslaved over 380,000 people on its plantations. The Queen is still the head of state in 15 countries, mostly ex-colonies. Yeah, how do you go from controlling 40% of the landmass on the planet to controlling an island about the size of New York State? And you're losing more colonies at the moment. Those damn colonizers. I gave them everything. We'll see how this goes. We'll see what they do with it. But yes, Barbados is now its own republic. New flag, new country. No longer a territory. Good on them. We'll see how that goes. Last one. Things you should never do naked is a trend over on Twitter right now. Things that you should never do naked is this week's Feel Good Frolics, hosted by Tweet Feels Good, Kira Spears, Quick Bear, Being Carmen, and I Am Dan Levy. This should be fun. Things you should never do naked. First dates. I'm doing the naked man tonight. Actually, I think that would work out well for some of us anyway. Things you should never do naked. Design the new McDonald's USA cup. Is that supposed to be mittens and they just failed? What's going on here? Because that looks like an ass. Things you should never do naked. Twister. No wait, that could be a fun game. Press your clothes. Things you should never do naked. Deep fry. That's a good one you should never do naked. Open a pickle jar. Please stop. Let me help you with that. Go out in this weather, says Carl Holt. Yeah, we don't have snow here yet, and that's kind of lame. I love the snow. Ride the subway. Things you should never do naked. I wonder how many people actually do that. I know Fanning had to take off, but he would be the one to tell us how many people actually do ride the subway naked. Alright, that's it. We're going to head out of here for the day. We got a lot of stuff to cover tomorrow still, but I think I'm going to cut some of this too. Just for time, but yeah, that's it. We're done. Let's change up the track here. Let's see what we've got for this. Let's get out of here. Oh shit, that's loud. Alright, so that's going to be it for the day. We're going to head out of here. We're going to get on with our days here, and I am going to go over, we're going to raid, if you're on Twitch right now, stick around, we're going to go raid Stephen Ingramus in just a second here. In fact, I can go get that started as we talk here, but we'll be back here tomorrow with more Contemporary, and thank you once again to Katie Zed for coming by and hanging out with us last night on the Red Ned Show. There might be something in the works coming off of that as well, so definitely looking forward to that, but come back here tomorrow for more Contemporary, 7:15 a.m. Central Time, news and headlines, and commentary. We'll talk about what's going on in the world and what's going on with Eric Swalwell and how bad that he is as well. So come back and join me for that. Otherwise, we will see you the next time you can show up. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.